Alright, so we'll start a brand new project just to kind of review the steps. So go to New, find our low poly model, which is the low poly 2 for me. And everything's fine and okay here, just like we had last time. I don't really care about this piece. So there's my low poly. All my smoothing groups are the same, I believe. I think I actually have, it looks like the where the metal is going to be one smoothing group, which is fine. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our texture set settings and bake our maps. Let's bring in our high poly. Basically, the high poly is the turbo smooth version of my chamfered low poly. The IDs, we did some work on those, so I want to bring them in. We can do material color and make sure we apply to all of it. Yeah, because we'll use that when we bring that in from ZBrush. So we bake all the texture sets. This will take a few minutes. And what we'll do is go through adding some materials. We'll add an image for a decal and a stencil, and that should be a pretty simple little process. In doing this, I have crashed 4 times today already, so I can't guarantee that this will go cleanly. Yay, technology. But once all these maps are created, I'm going to save the project and hopefully it gives us a starting point. We're in a good spot, and if I see changes, I can always go back and fix it later. All I'm worried about right now is getting into materials and getting some colors on our object.
So it's normal for the colors to not be on the model if they were on there in 3ds Max.
Yeah, there's something going on with the color map conversion from 3ds Max, and I need to look at that. But this was the steps that I took previous, and it worked fine. I may be missing a step, or they may have updated the way the terminology set up, but I'll look into that for sure. So there we go. We got it set up. I'm going to go ahead and get let's kind of look around, make sure it looks okay. The normals came in pretty strong. I've got a couple areas of concern, but I can look at that. I think it's a smoothing group on my low poly though. I'll look at that. It also maybe where the high poly object sits in terms of the low poly cage, but it should be all right to fix. No problem. All right, so let's go over here. I hit F to basically zoom all the pieces in. I've got my layers in here. And what I've been doing in the past is just throwing smart materials because I like the controls that I get with those better. But if you want, you can use regular materials. I'm going to go ahead and keep with the smart materials and just find some basic things that look close to what I'm after. I like the steel dark, so we'll put that on the actual, what's been usually the white metal. Right, so it's going off of what my UVs and the position of everything else that give me this kind of imagery. I bet I can go into the masking tools and play around with that a little bit more. We'll look at that in a second. Let's go ahead and add a bit of rubber tire or rubber dry. Let's take a look at this one. Ooh, that one's awesome. Rubber tire dirty on my outer shell. Ooh, gorgeous. Look at that grossness. That's awesome. We'll play with that in a little bit. Maybe too dirty for me, but that's okay. I can definitely tweak that. And then let's add some steel painted on the handles here. This software is so fun. All right, it's a little too intense on this. I may have to tighten up the mask a little bit, but there we go. My filthy crate. Let's save it. Save as. Crate 3. Alright, so this is kind of where I left us off last time. Let's go ahead and talk about getting in a decal of some sort. I can probably put some kind of control panel maybe there. Let's see what I got on my in my image list. I think that blue is too ugly. That could work. Let's take that one in. So what we'll do, we'll go into my project, and we can either drag and drop, or we can real easily. Let's take this control panels, throw it into here, and we'll get us this pop-up, which we can also get if we were to go into file and import resources. It's the exact same thing. Add resources, we go find our image. So what I'll do here is I'll copy that path. I'll paste it in this file name, hit enter, and then find that image I want, which is that one. I want to make this, I want to define it as a texture, because that's what we're doing it. You can use different things, alpha, color load. I have to look at that up. An environment, which would be like an environment map. And we want to make this a texture because we want it explicit. And we want to put it into our project, Creator 3. Put it in here. So this is all of our files. If I go into project, we should see the image there. And what we need to do at this point is make it use a projection tool on top of our paint layer. So I'm going to choose one of these guys to paint this on top of. Let's take a look at the image real quick, up close, a little better. Kind of plan this out. There's something in here I can use. The shadow and the lights are a little challenging, but I bet I can find something that's not too bad. But it'll work for our purposes. What's straight on? I don't know. We'll find something. Let me these lights. I'll do something like that. Something up there. It'll be easy to find. All right. So what we'll do, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer. It's just a regular paint layer. And then here, once we have the add layer on, we'll get the actual paint tools, the eraser, and the projection tool. And the projection tool is what we want. We can do a stencil inside the paint tool, but let's do ahead and change projection. And we don't have a projection in here, so what we need to do is add it. What we can do here is either go to the stroke menu, or we can right click and get the exact same menu here. And so looking at here, what we can do is, let's go find our, where are we going? Where is it? There we go. Boop, boop, projection tool. And we want to add this in there. So let's go back. Where do I do that? I just did it a second ago. I think I do it in base color. So there's our, yep, okay, so go here. So now that I've got this, if I zoom out, the image that's being projected is independent of the actual scaling and imaging controls of the camera. If I hold the S key on my keyboard, I'm going to have access to the actual stencil itself. And I'm using the exact same keystrokes as I'm using as the camera, which is Alt and left mouse for zoom, middle mouse for move, and left mouse for rotate, right mouse for zoom. So S, right mouse key, just kind of get the size I want. Kind of play around with both sides, both directions. Let's change that. I'm using, if I hold shift, it'll do a snap on the lock tool. Alright, let's see. We'll take that one right there. Okay, so now that I got that set up, I'm going to go ahead and use the projection tool. There is a size, flow, stroke opacity, spacing, distance, and this is where we want to talk about basically the same things you'd see in Photoshop and pen tools there. I'm not using pen pressure because I'm using a mouse, but if I go here, I can just go straight on and it'll add our image right on top of that layer. And I'm doing it with one stroke as best I can, mostly so I can just hit undo in one big chunk if I want. Because I missed the alignment just a hair. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Right click again, we can go into this menu and we can take that off, and I'll take the projection tool off. Let's see what we did. And there is our image, upside down and off to the side. So it's messed up and I'm gonna have to redo it. Undo, which is no big deal. Projection tool, right click. Let's go into, actually, instead of right click, it'd be easier just to pop that up because I can just drag this into the base color. Pop, there's our image. Let's rotate our, there we go, I think that should work. All right, and then we will use that to position it. There we go, just a little more. Beautiful, and just paint away. In the next couple of videos, I'll talk about how to paint normal maps on here, so we can actually probably play around with adding some texture to help accentuate this detail that I'm painting in. Because I know how I set my UVs up, and I know that they're basically mirrored, if I want to do the same thing over here, I'll have to actually flip the image again, or rotate it. And I'm going to put that one on there. All right, so that's how we project. Thank you.